Howdy folks, this is Michael Kreider for Android Community, and today we're taking a look at the T-Mobile Springboard, the latest tablet offering from T-Mobile with a 4G HSPA Plus connection. Now this is a 7-inch Honeycomb tablet, which is a form factor we're not really used to seeing. It's, as you can see, it's pretty small. My hands are kind of big, so you can get a good reference point there. The tablet itself is surprisingly sturdy. It's got this all-metal back with some T-Mobile branding and a by Google and all that. And as you can see on the sides, it's got that same metal that goes all the way up to the screen with just a couple of plastic cutouts here, I imagine for wireless connectivity and some expansion there at the bottom. Very, very slick little tablet. Feels very solid. It's a little heavier than a comparative plastic tablet would be, but I kind of like the extra heft. It makes you feel, makes it feel safe. On this side here, you've got your headphone port and a couple of stereo speakers. Pretty small. They get all right as far as volume is concerned. That side's bare, and the top/side here has your power and volume buttons. And down on the bottom, you get an HDMI port, a micro USB port for connectivity, and a separate charging port. You cannot charge from the micro USB port, so it does require an extra cable there. On the bottom, you can see that it has this expansion area where you've got your SIM card and a little area for a micro SD card. 16 gigabytes of onboard storage are included, and the micro SD card slot is empty. Alright, and just to do some quick comparisons as far as the size is concerned, I've got my, let's see here, got my 4.3-inch Droid X, which is pretty big, but it's rather typical for an Android smartphone. And as you can see, the difference between the 4.3-inch and the 7-inch is, it's not huge, but it's definitely noticeable as far as the display is concerned. And on the other end of the spectrum, I've got my relatively huge 10-inch HP touchpad running Android with a little bit of hacking. Now let's see if I can zoom out and get a better focus on that. In comparison, well, obviously the touchpad is quite a bit bigger. It's a dramatic jump up from that 7 inches to 10 inches, as you can see. But hey, if you're wanting a smaller tablet, the hardware at the very least is very impressive. It's got a 1280 by 800 resolution LCD screen in there, which looks really sharp on a device this small. Okay. Now, like I said, the hardware, there's not a whole lot to complain about. Let me focus it in. There we go. There's not a lot to complain about as far as the hardware is concerned. It's even got a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core processor in there, which is, for a device this size and this price, which is $199 on a 2-year data contract, it's really impressive. The problem comes in when you've got the software running. Now, this is, as far as Android is concerned, it's running default Honeycomb. The thing is, T-Mobile has added a lot of apps in there. You can see there's a Blio app for reading, Blockbuster for video, VIP, which is sort of their chosen apps, and just a lot of extra software on here that you really don't need. The mobile hotspot, I suppose that could be useful to some folks, as can Quick Office, but the T-Mobile TV and the GPS Navigator, a lot of this can be covered by other apps that users can choose. For example, they include Slacker, when I imagine there's still a lot of people who would prefer Pandora, or rather would prefer the choice to choose between the two. There's just a lot going on here that doesn't need to be, and you can see that it's slowing down the experience somewhat. You're getting lost frames and some jumpy animation, even just on the home screen, and we haven't even loaded up any apps yet. It slows down everything. I've actually managed to speed it up a little by disabling some of these apps on startup, but even now, it's quite a bit slower than I'd like to see it going. You're seeing it without anything disabled. It's running at its, I suppose you'd call it, the native speed. The stability is a real issue here. We've seen a lot of these apps just kind of crash randomly, which is not what you want to see on a media tablet. For example, the music app, when you load it up, I've loaded up some audiobooks as I like to listen to them, and it'll just cut out after 2 or 3 minutes on some tracks and just reset it. Really, really frustrating. I've tried a third-party app, Power Amp, and that doesn't seem to be an issue. As far as the data connection is concerned, T-Mobile doesn't actually reach out to my house. I've taken it into the city on a couple of times, and the connection has been alright. Not great, but alright. Just a little better than you'll see on 3G speeds And, well, T-Mobile is not known for being just the most reliable carrier out there. They're more of a budget option. And that's borne through on my tests. The stability is really, it really brings down this tablet, and it's a darn shame because the hardware is just really nice. It's actually made by an OEM called Huawei, Chinese manufacturer. They don't have any branding except on the inside of that expansion port, but that's who's making it, even though it's branded T-Mobile. But the software that T-Mobile has added on here, or the customizations that they've done to Android 3.2, seems to really drag down the experience, and it's just a shame, because otherwise the hardware is a joy to use. It's really solid, really slick, and if you want a 7-inch tablet, they don't get a whole lot smaller than this. As you can see, it's it's pretty slim. But the apps that T-Mobile has added just take away from the experience a lot. It's surprising and it's disappointing. If you know what you're doing when it comes to Android, you can probably get a lot more speed out of this. And if the mod community gets into it, they can load up a cleaner version of Honeycomb and later maybe even Ice Cream Sandwich. But for the time being, the experience as far as the software is concerned is just not up to snuff. Well, this is the T-Mobile Springboard tablet. It'll be releasing very soon on T-Mobile for $199 on contract. And this is Michael Kreider for Android Community. Thank you very much.